Lepers Ritual. So I have read on this yesterday, and I shared a post briefly regarding Lepers Ritual. And what I've realized whilst reading is that it is also similar to some of the actions, as well as the doctrines that religious groups amongst Trinidad and Tobago do as well, practice as an offering on their altars. All right, so Lepers Ritual is where there is two animals. One is killed as an offering sacrifice. The blood is drained into something like a container or bowl. The one that is alive is dipped into that container, and it is said to be what is meant for the whole rebirth and cleansing process, as well as being born again in the blood, born again from the death, referring to Jesus Christ dying on the cross. All right, so I realized that there are other religious groups here around Trinidad and Tobago who also offers the sacrifice of an animal, killing of an animal as a sacrifice offering to their deity and such like that. So this have prompted me to go to the story of Cain and Abel, which is one of the first documented blood ritual offerings mentioned, all right, in the Christian doctrine. Okay, so with Cain and Abel, many have the conception, because it has been, an analysis projected by many beings like prophets, as in, pastors, whoever would have been the priests, whomsoever would have been missionaries, and other names they would have called themselves, all right, in the space of reverence. All right, so Cain and Abel, they share the concept that, one of the brothers died because the other was jealous of him and killed him. All right, so my whole philosophy based on the analysis and the divine laws and principles of reciprocity. What is reciprocal is that blood is for blood, as do eye for eye and tooth for tooth. All right, so it is juxtaposed as well with the golden rule, where it's simple as it is: do unto others as you have others do unto you. So one of the brothers offered fruit and vegetation, right, to the deity based on his guided conscience. All right, so your consciousness, this is your temple of sun and moon, because sun, moon, and we are the star seeds. All right, so under the sun and the moon, hence for Solomon being grand in everything, much honor and gratitude for my ancestry of coming from that which is the primordial roots of divine Solomon, Mother Solomon. All right, because matriarch is who was able to indoctrinate everything else, as in, gave the rite of passage. Everything comes from the mother. All right, so yeah, understanding that principle, I have realized that the other offered a lamb that was killed as his offering sacrifice, following his head consciousness and guidance. All right, and this is what is mentioned as the word of God. So for me, wherever the word of God is, as in that whispering voice within us, there is the word that is very much opposite to that bit of righteousness, opposite from the purity, and it urges you to go into the tainted realms of iniquities. So blood for blood, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. So this is the whole reasoning and truth with the doctrine of Cain and Abel. One of the brothers' life was taken because he offered a blood offering to the deity entity. The God he serves is a different God from purity. All right, so ELoHIM, the primordial of where I am, is different from Anunnaki, Nephilim, who are able to shape shift and alter the consciousness of beings, because they are always after the Christos, the Christ consciousness. So the most purified blood and the rebirth, and as in being born again within the sacred divine order of Christ within us, is when it is done through the ovulation process of the mother's egg, and then it being hatched and she being impregnated, and she doesn't have to see a menstrual cycle to be impregnated. All right, so the ovulation is before menstruation, and then when she hatches, she's able to grow the baby within her, and it is within the rib. So the whole notion of coming from Adam's rib is Adam's mother. She's the mother, and from within her rib, the baby grows, forms, and through from her passage, the being, which is the baby, is born again, baptized from her water and her blood, from her placenta and the water bag. So that is the most sacred and purifying essence of being reborn and birthed in the divinity of Christ and consciousness, because we come with that Christ consciousness from the Kundalini Heir, the Kundalini goddess. She's able to manifest naturally, and we need not to kill or use blood as an offering on the altars to invoke spirits that are often mischievous in the physical realm from the spiritual gates and portals. Alright, so it is very much different doctrines. So hence the reason for me being, I do not indulge, I am not one to willingly say harmonize with beings who practice the offering of slaughtering an animal and using the freshness of the blood as an offering to their deity of worship. It is not within my retrospect and doctrine. I shall not fall from grace. However, there are beings who do this because perhaps they do not know better, and there are beings who knows better, and they intentionally prefer to do things like these, because what it does is that this practice is also utilized as a way to commit crimes such as murder by spiritual witchcraft. So this is also unlawful. So this is something that should be set as a doctrine, because it goes against the golden rule. It goes against divine law principles of nature, as well as the divine law principles of the sacred mother. Alright? So there's no need to use the blood of an animal. Would you yourself consume it? Killing an animal, no, consume it as it is, without cleaning it, without washing it, without saying, all right, let me season it up, prepare a nice meal, feed myself, enrich my household, enrich many other beings as a healing, divine, watering mechanism, as reciprocating the harmony and love, binding us together as one. Will you consume that animal as it is? No. So what's the whole purpose? And if you do, then you serve a different entity. You serve an entity that is out of the gates of heaven. It is not from that, an entity that is disconnected from the gates of heaven, more or less. All right, so that's just that. And yeah, when it comes to the smoke as well, the smoke is a divine sacred element, as known from my ancestors who would have had tobacco estates. The smoke is sacred. It is not it's not marketed or done as an abuse, as how it may be today, being abused without the correct knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. As well as my fellow Asiatic ancestors as well too would have something that's similar to a cigarette, but it is actually petals, flower petals, being dried and as well prepared, as in the breath. So the smoke, taking a smoke is like in taking a breath, and there's a misconception of it. All right, because many beings are also misusing and abusing its whole divinity. All right, so when it comes to the smoke is sacred. It is within my traditional practices. It is not to create harm or hurt to anyone, because it is done respectfully, not around school children like that, in the presence of a school, in the presence of being in front of business places that are very much professional. Utilizing it in designated areas of smoke is great. However, when it comes to this offering of blood, it goes against the laws of the cosmos, the universe, and many other things, because it stirs mischief in the spiritual realms that actually impacts the physical. All right, so it is invocation done by beings who are incapable of manifesting naturally. So manifesting naturally, fruit and vegetation for vegetation, we are able to provide water, mold, and nurture harvests of beautiful fruits. All right, so yeah.